Oh, yeah.
That was Philip Neighbors of Mustard Seed Market and Cafe. And I'd like to take this moment to thank Philip and the Mustard Seed family for providing the wonderful food like they do every month for our Games meeting. So please help me start for that. I'd also like to take a moment to thank Jill and Tony Tropey for yet again providing the space for us to hold our meetings each month. So thank you, Jill and Tony. Okay, so I'm Karen Starr. As I said earlier, I'm with the Core Planning Group. I'm also with Hazel Tree Interiors up the road. I will be kind of facilitating the evening tonight, and this evening is part 2 in our 2-part series on the local food movement and the growing economy around that. And we have 2 wonderful speakers this evening. We have Beth Knorr, who is the Farmers Market Manager with the Countryside Conservancy and also co-owner of Pop Smith. And we have Lisa Nunn, who's the Executive Director of Let's Grow Akron. But before we bring them up to talk about that, I'd like to share a little bit with the group about what the Games Planning Group did a couple of weeks ago. So for those of you new to the room, we are almost 3 years old. Next month will be our 3rd anniversary of holding meetings every month. We are kind of an offshoot of what was a Cleveland-based organization called Entrepreneurs for Sustainability. There was an Akron chapter that happened towards the end of that organization's involvement up in Cleveland. And there was a small handful of us who kind of became the core planning group that went up to that final meeting and went, we really love this monthly touch point, this place to all gather together to talk about things that are important to us, share ideas, and network with our community. So we started this, and GAIN stands for the Greater Akron Innovation Network for Sustainability. And we started as 8 people in our core planning group, and now we are 12 or 13. And it's really fun. We've invited some new people to the group to help us really vision what we are going to do moving forward. So about 2 weekends ago, I guess it was, we all went on a weekend planning retreat, and we spent a weekend really talking about who we are and what we want to be when we grow up. And it was a wonderful conversation, and so much good came out of it, and you will see that unfold as the year goes on. So I just wanted to share that with you. And I also wanted to encourage everyone to please sign up for our email list if you're not already on it. We'll tell you about the monthly meetings, and we'll share things from time to time that don't necessarily have to do particularly with the Gains meeting, but with our local community that we share. So at the end of the 2 presenters' presentations tonight, we'll have a Q&A to talk. You can ask questions of Lisa and Beth. And then afterwards, we're going to hear from John Ugrin, who introduced himself earlier. He's with the Akron Better Block, and he is going to share a little bit about what the Better Block project is and how we, as a network, might be able to help. So before I bring Lisa up, I want to share the 2 questions that we asked these speakers tonight. Where do you see the most energy and potential for growing a stronger local food economy? And what are the key challenges, and how might they be transformed into opportunities? All right, so that's our focus tonight. And please help me welcome Lisa Nunn from Let's Grow Akron.
Hi, I'm shorter than Karen, so. Hi, okay, so the 2 questions, I'm going to answer them throughout my presentation, but I have quick one-word answers. Where do you see the most potential and energy for growing a stronger food economy? I see it with the people, the regular, everyday people like you and me, people that live in the neighborhoods, the people that we serve. Also, what are the key challenges and how might they be transformed into opportunities? I feel like the biggest challenge that we face in food access is, you can't hear me?
Yeah, a little louder.
Because I'm shorter than you. There we go. Is basically just valuing the work and making it important that all people have access to healthy food. I think the more that we value it, the more we put our dollars behind it, and the more we're able to do the work. I have a very small, tiny little nonprofit with a shoestring budget and coworkers that work their butts off that I can't pay what they're worth. But the more we value and put dollars behind this local foods movement, I feel like in the pockets of people, we can get more work done. So Let's Grow Akron, I want to tell you a little bit about Let's Grow Akron, a little bit about the history and programming. You're welcome to hook me after 10 minutes or so, because I could go on and on. But Let's Grow Akron is a nonprofit community gardening organization. Where do I go? Down? We create and support community gardens and beautification sites in neighborhoods with limited access to fresh food and green space. This is our mission statement: to overcome urban blight and alleviate hunger in the community by teaching people to grow, prepare, and preserve their own food while working alongside them to beautify neighborhoods. Let's Grow Akron was founded in 1988 by Elaine Evans. She actually worked for the planning department, and one of her jobs was to respond to complaints about overgrown city lots. The challenge is to find the owner, to maintain the lot. Oftentimes that burden went to the city. Elaine grew up on a farm in North Carolina, and so she had some gardening experience. And her intention was to write a letter to the Akron Beacon-Journal about how these vacant lots should be turned into gardens so people could grow food. But a pastor friend of hers said, well, you know how to grow food, so you should do it. So she started Let's Grow Akron in the back bedroom of her house as she was raising 4 children as a single mother. It all started with a bag of rotten potatoes that were donated by the Akron-Canton Regional Food Bank. They took these potatoes and cut them into pieces. If you know anything about growing potatoes, anywhere there's an eye on the potato becomes a plant. So they cut them into pieces. She gathered neighbors, cleared this lot on Long Street, and planted this bag of rotten potatoes. That yielded enough to feed all the neighbors and also to donate back to the Akron-Canton Regional Food Bank. Elaine had a very special love for children. She started the Harvest of Hope Children's Community Garden Program that I'll tell you a little bit more about in a few minutes. But she also ran gardens for Lincoln School Elementary while it was still open, and also Mickey Bright Elementary. She also had a greenhouse at the Glendale Cemetery at one point. One of Elaine's greatest accomplishments, she would tell you, is the Children's Garden. It's actually a 19,000 to 20,000 square foot space on Summit Lake that was one of Akron's top 10 illegal dump sites. It looked like this. They took them 2 years to clear it and grade it. They turned it into a beautiful garden, complete with a pond and stream and walking bridge, 13-foot dinosaur sculpture, praying mantis sculpture, a 60-foot canal boat replica, and also an ABC garden with a plant for every letter of the alphabet. This space is still, it's not in its heyday, but it's still available for public access, and we do still hold programming there. Elaine worked up to her very last day. This is us celebrating her 75th birthday in the garden with children, of course. One of her dying wishes is that we revitalize the children's garden and hold a life celebration in lieu of funeral, which we did in 2013 on her birthday, and we will continue to make that an annual event each year. And then that's where I come in. I am honored to stand on the shoulders of Elaine. She was a visionary. She mentored me for several years for this position without telling me so. I started as a community gardener. I bought a house in 2005 on Rhodes Avenue, and Karen Edwards and I were sitting on the porch one day and looked at the lot across the street and said, we should start a community garden there because I have too many trees around my house and no room to grow vegetables. So Karen called Elaine, and Elaine said, well, we're starting an intergenerational garden at the John Brown House. We need some families to be involved with the seniors at the Saferstein Towers. They need help. They have physical limitations. They need help bending over to weed and harvest. And so Karen and I both had young children, and we thought this was a great opportunity for us to do some community service. But little did we know that we got there and we learned so much from these older folks who had generation of gardening experience that they taught us. And the friendships that our children made with the seniors were valuable. So this is me and my youngest daughter weeding, I guess. She's a teenager now, so she doesn't want to get dirty anymore. Beyond just community gardening, which most people think that we're famous for, we also have programs that reach out to our neighbors that have limited resources. We call them our neighbors because we believe everyone is our neighbor, and we work with them. We feel like, and Elaine was very much this way, you would never know if she had a top executive at the garden or she had, somebody who just was released from prison after a long stint. And we try to continue on that same vein with her, where we're all neighbors. No matter what your situation is, we all have to eat, and we all should learn how to grow our own, so we have our own food security. So our programs teach our neighbors to use urban land for food production, to prepare healthy meals from the harvest, and to preserve the surplus produce to be available throughout the winter. This is a list of our programs, and I have pictures of all of them, so I'm going to go through them all very quickly. Obviously, we create community gardens and help other people create community gardens and beautification sites and maintain green spaces. We currently have about 40 spaces that we maintain and an additional 17 that we support. We also have a list of friends, we call them, that are always growing because community gardens are popping up all over. This is an example of a before and after picture. This is a lot that this year was turned into a community garden. This is the before, and this is the after. And Jan and Ryan can tell you we cleaned up a lot of trash from that. So we have a lot of our garden sites are traditional community gardens where people have their own plots and they maintain their own plots. But we also have a lot of gardens that we maintain that raise food for people that need to be fed. For example, this is the Catholic workers maintain 3 hospitality homes on Princeton Street in South Akron, and they have several gardens that we assist them with that raise food for the neighborhood. Anybody that walks by, the lady that lives in this house, her name is Ann, she will pluck whatever is out of the garden that you have your eye on, and she'll also give you the coldest water in town. Isn't that what Brian said? This is a garden at the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army, we maintain 3 garden sites at the Salvation Army. One is for the soup kitchen. They serve food every day, and we grow food for them to serve in their kitchen. And then they also maintain a short-term and long-term transitional housing spaces for homeless people, and we have garden sites for them as well. I mentioned the Harvest of Hope Children's Community Garden program. This is a program for children. We have 2 sites, one in Summit Lake and one across from the V. Odom Branch Library in the Lanefield neighborhood. Children learn to grow and sell produce there. In the meantime, while we're waiting for things to grow, they have visitors from beekeepers to artists to park rangers that come and do projects with the kids and teach them different things. They keep timesheets throughout the summer where they keep track of their hours, and at the end of the summer, each week, they set up a market and they sell their produce. At the end of the summer, we take the profits and we divide it by how many hours the children have worked, and they come up with an hourly rate, and they all get a little paycheck. So last year, at one site, it was like 62 cents an hour, and the other was 90 cents an hour. But when you're 8 years old and you have come, 30 times, it's a 6 days a week program. So if you've come every time, it's kind of an incentive to keep coming back, and you get a big fat paycheck at the end of the season. Here's a couple pictures of some young men working in the garden at V. Odom, weeding. So our young urban farmers markets, like I said, each week at each site on Fridays and Saturdays, they set up a market to sell their produce. And also with the help of Countryside Conservancy and other organizations, we started a mini farmers market at Summit Lake. We hope to expand that this year. But it gives our young urban farmers an opportunity to sell some more, get experience with customer service. I mean, some of these kids don't even know what a zucchini is at the beginning of the season, but once they get going, then the next thing you know, they're selling this zucchini to somebody. And they also stand on the road with signs and try to get customers. That's right. Here's a picture of one of our young urban farmers markets. We also take them on a trip to the farmers market so they can see how other farmers do it. And this was our trip in 2014. They did a scavenger hunt and they all got a token to spend at the market. Our goal is to really get families involved in this. So you see a lot of moms that are involved. There's several volunteers in the picture as well. Because I forgot to mention that they also have a weekly nutrition lesson from a University of Akron student, and we really like that the moms come and are involved in that as well. So the kids are learning not only how to grow things, but also how to prepare it, and if moms are there, they can take that stuff home with them. I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Oh, about moms. Oh, this is the coolest thing. One of the moms, several of the moms actually, I have about 3 or 4 moms in the Summit Lake neighborhood who participated in this program as children that are now bringing their own. I was hoping that they were in this picture, but they're not. I'm looking for them. That's how I lost my train of thought. But so again, it's passing it down generationally. Beth and I just came from a program called Growing Cities, where we participated in the discussion panel afterwards. And one of the issues that came up was the fact that we're not attached to where our food came from. And it's only just in the last couple generations that we've lost that by eating a lot of convenience foods and processed foods. And in these neighborhoods where we work, that's what they have, is convenience stores with processed foods. That's what they're used to eating. It's accessible, it's affordable. Trying to convince them that they should get outside and get active and grow their own isn't always the easiest sell. But the fact that we do it together and make it a family thing, we grow it together, we prepare it together, and we eat it together, it becomes very relational, so that it's not, like I said earlier, wagging your finger at people saying, this is what you need to do, and this is how you should be like me. I grow my own and I eat lots of vegetables. But we're doing it together. We're sharing recipes, we're preparing food together, and we're eating it together. So again, it's a generational thing. This is a picture of the Miller Avenue Youth Center Teen Garden Club. Notice the pastor is planting while the teenagers are standing around watching, not getting dirty. But we meet with them weekly to plan the garden at Miller Avenue United Church of Christ. And then they also are hired on as Summer Youth Employment for Success participants, where the Department of Job and Family Services pays them to work with us, and so they work with the children in the children's garden, so it's kind of an extension of their teen garden club. They get to see their garden through. The John Brown Community Garden, like I mentioned, is an intergenerational community garden. We also have another on Edgewood, or at the Edgewood Village. This is a picture of Rose and Saviana. Saviana is giving Rose a tour of our garden after she just bought some vegetables at the market. They both have their own gardens, but they kind of interact with each other. The Pump House Urban Agriculture Center is a collaboration between the City of Akron, AMHA, and Akron Summit Community Action, and Let's Grow Akron, but Ryan will tell you we do all the work there. We have chickens there, we have a high tunnel for season extension, we have compost bins there for demonstration, and community garden for residents living in the Summit Lake apartments. It's also right along the towpath. If you've ever taken the towpath down to the floating bridge on Summit Lake, you'll see that we have chickens and high tunnels and community gardens there. The idea is to kind of expose people to different agriculture practices. We also have the Healthy Foods Preparation and Preservation Community Education Program. That's a really long title, and that's Jan Green. Got to call her out right there. Jan Green teaches our canning classes. We also teach different preservation techniques and also cooking demonstrations and healthy meal preparation. To teach someone what a zucchini is not the end of our work. We got to teach them how to cook it so that they will eat it. So we try to come up with creative ways to plan meals on a budget and teach people how to do that. The Community Compost Cooperative is basically a partnership between Liam and I, but Liam and I go around to Robex Fruit and Juice Bar and get their food scraps. We also go to Nervous Dog for their coffee grounds, Trailhead Brewery for their spent brewery grains, and Pure Intention Wheatgrass Farm. And what we do with these food scraps is we intentionally compost them so we can get a higher turnover rate. The idea is to demonstrate these practices to others, so we have demonstration sites in different parts of town. Liam is the master composter, and he can turn food waste into compost like that. So the idea is that we're gardening it on urban land, and we need to amend the soil. And if we can collect what's available to us, we can do that without having to spend money and have compost hauled in and then, spread around. So the Community Compost Cooperative, the idea is to inspire other people to gather their food waste and their kitchen scraps and their garden waste and compost it at a high turnover rate. So while I'm on this, I want to say Mustard Seed Market in Highland Square, we want your food waste. In the movie that we just watched, they went to, Whole Foods, and they picked up this giant pickup truck load full of green food waste that they were going to compost. They could hardly fit it in the truck, and I was totally inspired by that. So part of our community composting cooperative, is a worm farm that we inherited from We Compost, an organization started by John Craig before he moved to California. And so some of the scraps that we collect are fed to worms, and they create very nutritious vermicompost for us. And the teenagers love playing in the vermicompost, as you can tell from the looks on all their faces. Finally, the last project I want to tell you about was the Urban Honeybee Project. Laura Urban is a beekeeper, and she runs a project for us where she not only raises honey that we can sell at affordable prices to people living in the inner city, but she also teaches people the importance of pollinators, specifically bees, and how important that is for our food supply. A lot of people are afraid of bees, obviously, so there's a lot of education that's needed there. But she keeps hives for us and raises honey, and is going to start a beekeeper mentoring program. So if you're interested in that starts this summer. I want to say that I am in the midst of developing a new logo, so say goodbye to the dancing eggplants and look out for our logo. We're also developing a new website, so for now I can say like us on Facebook and look out for the announcement of a new logo and website. And I have to say one more thing, that everything we do is with many, many, many partners and collaborators, and my staff that works way too hard for the little money that I can pay them, and lots of volunteers. So I have to put a plug in to come grow with us. If you want a community garden spot or you want to volunteer with us, we can use all the help we can get. And so these cute little ladies are saying peas because they're planting peas.
Okay, Beth Noor from Countryside Conservancy and Pop Smith will be our next speaker. Help me welcome Beth.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Hi everybody.
So tall. She put the microphone down.
I'm short like Lisa too. Like Karen said, they asked us two questions, and they asked me to answer with two separate hats. My Countryside Conservancy Farmers Market Manager hat, as well as my small business owner Pop Smith hat. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do here. But the questions were, where do you see the most potential / energy for growing a strong food economy, as well as what are the key challenges and how might they be transformed into opportunities? So I have slightly different answers, although they are not unrelated based on the hat that I'm wearing. For Countryside Conservancy, for those of you who don't know, let me just go into a little bit of history about Countryside Conservancy. We were established in 1999. We are a cooperating partner with the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. Our original project was to help the national park reestablish farms within the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. So we are essentially the agricultural technical advisors to the National Park Service for the farms in the national park. We help them send out requests for proposals to farmsteads within the national park. And actually, we'll have 2 more farms coming up for proposal sometime this year. So keep your eye out for that if you have a hankering to get your hands dirty and want to farm in such a beautiful location. But that was how the program, the organization was originally established. But we do much more than just help the national park manage the farmland within our unique park. We also do a lot of educational programs. We teach backyard gardeners and home cooks how to use local food. We teach growers how to acquire business skills as well as production skills through various classes, webinars, and workshops. And we also manage farmers markets. So our mission is to connect food, land, and people. So through all 3 of our major program areas, we do that. We connect farmers to agricultural land, we connect consumers to local food and how to utilize it, and then we also connect consumers with producers through our farmers markets. And actually we're having a spring fleeing farmers market this Saturday at both the Akron Art Museum and the main library, right here just down the street. Those hours are from 10 to 1, and we have about 35 vendors who are going to be participating, farmers, local food businesses, and so on. So please come down and celebrate that with us. The Akron Art Museum is having free admission that day, and the library is having various programs to coincide with it. So we hope to see you there. But from Countryside's standpoint, the opportunities and potential that we see right now are really focused around local food access. That's something that we have worked with Let's Grow Akron on through our mini markets. The past summer, we had some pilot mini markets in the Summit Lake neighborhood. And we both just received some funding from United Way to be able to expand the number of mini markets in various neighborhoods. Yeah, we're very excited about that. But nationally, there is a movement to use farmers markets as a tool, as a quick and easy tool to allow neighborhoods to gain access to fresh, healthy foods that they don't otherwise have. Grocery stores are slowly coming to devise techniques and business models to establish themselves in neighborhoods that don't have access. But farmers markets have a much smaller overhead. They're much faster. They're pop-up. They're once a week or what have you. So they're easy. They're nimble. They can get into these neighborhoods and help educate customers on how to use local foods while also supporting small-scale farmers, whether they're urban farmers or rural farmers, but supporting the local economy. And one of the really exciting tools for doing this, an interesting historical note about food stamps. The majority of food stamps historically, back in the 70s, were actually spent at farmers markets when they were still paper vouchers. But they moved to an electronic system, what's called electronic benefits transfer. Well, when that happened, farmers markets didn't have the kind of infrastructure that was necessary to be able to accept those kind of EBT systems. And so the amount of food assistance dollars that were spent at farmers markets really tanked. And it was a huge hit for farmers because they relied on these customers to come support their businesses. It was, a mutual benefit. People were able to utilize those dollars to get really fresh, healthy food. Well, that became a non-option for farmers markets for a long period of time. And of course, as everything does, it often starts in California. Farmers markets began getting the infrastructure to be able to do that. Well, in 2009, Countryside Conservancy was the first farmers market in Summit County to be able to accept electronic benefits transfer funds, to be able to accept food assistance at farmers markets. And so we've been doing this since 2009, being able to serve everyone in our community, which we think is really, really important. Farmers markets often get the bad rap of being seen as this elitist movement, but I don't believe that for one second. Everybody has the right to healthy food. And so that's something that we believed in strongly, and so we're really interested in being able to do. You may have seen in the news recently there was a big grant made to many organizations across the country called the Food Insecurity Nutrition Incentive Program. It's a fancy word for saying making fruits and vegetables more affordable to food assistance customers. And Countryside was a partner in one of those grants. So we're excited to say that our Carrot Cash program, which is a dollar-for-dollar match for food assistance customers to be able to purchase fruits and vegetables at our farmers markets, we actually have funding to be able to do that for the next 3 years. So we're very, very excited about that. We've partnered with the organization Wholesome Wave. They're a national organization that has done this kind of work. We have been their partner since 2011, being able to offer this food assistance and the doubling of that food assistance specifically for healthy foods at our farmers markets. So from our organizational standpoint at Countryside Conservancy, this is really where we see a lot of momentum. And it's not just in Akron, Ohio. It's something that's happening nationwide. And the ability for people to really be able to double their purchasing power, to be able to access fruits and vegetables, so that you're supporting people who really need food, but you're not asking farmers to bear the brunt of that cost. Because farmers, believe it or not, are often many of the people who struggle to make their ends meet, and you know, their food costs, you know, you hear it every day that food is so expensive, but farmers who are selling fruits and vegetables, it's difficult for them to make ends meet. So it's really a win-win situation, access to healthy food and access to a great market for farmers as well. Shifting slightly to my Popsmith hat, I think there's a lot of energy for small-scale food businesses. You see this in Cleveland, and I hate to always look north to Cleveland, but they really are doing some wonderful things up there. The ability to harness the energy of providing not only fresh fruits and vegetables, but value-added products, anything that you would want to see in your own home pantry. There are opportunities, those are business opportunities to start and support small-scale businesses. And one of the challenges I see locally is the space to do that. We really don't have a space where entrepreneurs can come together, can utilize a community kitchen to prepare these either family recipes or innovative products to be able to market to the local community. So that's a real challenge. One of the benefits of having a community kitchen, such as in Cleveland, there's the Cleveland Culinary Lounge and Kitchen, is being able to share ideas with fellow entrepreneurs. And I'm definitely seeing some pent-up desire here in Akron for entrepreneurs to be able to create the products that they envision, but there's not a space to do so. And finding those locations to do it are a bit of a challenge. My husband and I were very lucky in that we happened to know a pastor who happened to have a love of local food, and so we were able to access a church kitchen. And that's sometimes where people do start, but it's complicated because churches are nonprofit entities, so how do you classify your payments to them to utilize the kitchen? Is it a donation? Is it a rent check? So it's really complicated, and they're not always willing to take the risk of supporting a small business in that way. There's liability issues, and just a lack of understanding of what the regulations are surrounding food businesses. So really getting your toe in the door to be able to start your business is a huge barrier for the entrepreneurs here in Akron. And so I definitely see that being both a challenge as well as an opportunity. I think that there's a big opportunity to provide some space where entrepreneurs can share a kitchen facility, share ideas, and bring products to market. I think that being able to foster small-scale businesses is one of our greatest opportunities right now. And at Countryside, you know, we see these small business opportunities, these small businesses, as people that we naturally can have a partnership with. We view our farmers markets as small business incubators. We are small business incubators, and so we want to be able to help support them. We can provide the marketplace, but really getting them started, getting them a place where they can create their products to bring it to market in the first place, I think is both the challenge and the opportunity right now. So that's essentially what I have for you this evening. So I'm very pleased.
Okay, next up we have John Ugrin. He is with the Akron Better Block. He is going to talk with us for a few minutes about the program. If you're not already familiar with it, there's tons of energy around this program now, which is wonderful. And Gaines has decided, the core planning group has decided that in lieu of a May meeting, now we have met every month. Now we're volunteer-based, okay? So let's back up and say we are completely volunteer-based, but we have met every month for the last 3 years. And in lieu of a May meeting, we are going to do a call to action for the network to pitch in and be a part of the Akron Better Block. We have a lot of hands and a lot of care, and we hope that you will pitch in for that. So I do want to say, before John tells us about Better Block, that Leah over there, Leah and Jessica over there, they have got, oh, there's Leah. They have got a special sign-up sheet that if you would like to be involved in a Gaines-specific activity for Better Block, please put your name and email address down, and John can talk about the overall project and how it all is working. So, John, you're great.
Hi, everybody. Happy to be here tonight. I'm a little pressed for time, so I hope you don't mind if I'm a little swift in my speech here. Better Block, if you don't know, is very quickly, it's sort of like for one weekend, it's a temporary living design charrette of what we would like to see that block become. So we're narrowing the streets, we're putting in bike lanes, we're going to put in actually a roundabout at the intersection of Cuyahoga Falls and Main Street. I'll look forward to seeing how well that works. So we're going to do all these things, including a lot of the, one of the big things is a lot of startup businesses and pop-up shops just for that day, people who might want to, who are considering, maybe doing a business, but they aren't sure how well it would work, or if they really want to do it, or if they'd be happy doing it. So it's a chance to try a lot of things out. We've been working with several of, Beth, for example, has been working with us for a long time on this project, and there's a lot to go on there during the day that I really probably don't have the time to go into in detail. But there are websites and the like, which you can probably find with some pretty easy internet searching. I was asked to speak a little bit about how this is, related to Gaines and how this works with Gaines, and in some ways it's not directly addressing sustainability, but if you look at what happens, it's a secondary effect. First off, it's developing or trying to instigate a lot of local businesses, closing those loops a lot tighter than we usually think of them from international enterprises and the like. And the second thing that it does is it really changes the way we look at space to address sort of a post-automotive era, adding the bike lanes and looking at it and trying to create a more walkable district, as well as the effect of adding a lot of plants and greenery to an area to try and sort of recoup it and make it more hospitable to human presence. So the primary impact, of course, if you ask what's a Better Block about, it's about re-energizing and turning this economically boosting the neighborhood. But all the secondary effects are about sustainability and longer term growth and locality for the neighborhood. So how can you get involved at this point? You have a sign-up sheet going. I'm not sure how that's going to work out with all the other stuff we have going on, but we'll integrate it somehow. Also, if you want to, there's a website, teambetterblock.com/Akron, that you can sign up there for the various workshops they have, including slapping together furniture out of pallets that we're going to be reusing, restriping the street for the bike lanes and whatnot. Sure, somebody's going to have to move all those potted trees around. And all those things like that. So, we have, I think it's 50 trees or something coming in just for the weekend. Some of them, the Better Block is kind of originally was sort of a power to the people sort of thing against a recalcitrant government in Dallas. And our government isn't recalcitrant; they actually kind of like it. So some of the trees are going to go right into the tree wells that are currently empty. So that's kind of nice. We're happy to see some movement on that already. You can also help by spreading the word. It's going to be May 15th, 16th, and 17th. If you're in Facebook, Twitter, all those sorts of things, we have hashtags and the like out there for you to use. And if you need specific information beyond that, you can contact me at johnugrin@gmail.com.